Hello and welcome back, adventurers. This is Captain TTRPG, and today we're talking about Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Fear me, if you dare. Welcome back, adventurers. Time for another pop culture build, and you read the title, but still, today we're talking about none other than Puss in Boots. For those of you who don't know Puss in Boots, sure there's somebody out there that doesn't know who that is. Anyway, this is a character that's existed in fiction for a long time, but gained popularity when he cropped up in Shrek 2. For anybody here watching the video who hasn't seen Shrek 1 and 2, I'll wait. No, seriously, just go watch them. It's okay. You can pause this. You just turn it off. Don't even have to come back. They're worth it. Okay, well, now that you've done that, you know who Puss in Boots is. Yes, Shrek helped popularize the character, and we're talking about a larger-than-life character. There's lots of ways you could build him. He could be a rogue or a fighter, but I think, in Pathfinder especially, there's one obvious direction, and that is swashbuckler. Not only is he acrobatic and charismatic, he basically defines the word panache with everything he does. He is the ideal fit for the class, which is kind of what drove me to make this video in the first place. And rather than do any more discussing of his character here, we'll talk about him more in Pathfinder2e. Let's jump on over. All right, let's put together our Puss in Boots build. So Puss in Boots, being the acrobatic, charismatic swashbuckler he is, really leads us down a very straightforward path at the beginning, at least. One thing I'm very excited about is we don't have to choose human for once. Hooray! In fact, we have a couple good choices. One option would be catfolk. I think catfolk is a very solid choice here. The one thing that holds it back for me is that they are medium by default. And this is where I would have gone, but recently we got access to the awakened animal. And while the lore behind awakened animals may not be a perfect fit either, we can make a cat that is small size. And that's what we're going to do for this build. So, going with the rare awakened animal, if you don't have access to that in your game and you want to still build this character, I'd say go with catfolk and you'll be just fine. So we're going to choose awakened animal. And while I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and choose small size. Not tiny, but small. Which means we will get 6 HP by default rather than the higher numbers for larger sizes, but it fits our character. All right, we look at our background. Now for the background, oh boy, we've got all sorts of good choices, I think. Being the entertainer he is, the action hero, all sorts of interesting choices. But I'm going to lean into Shrek 2, and because of that, I'm going to go with Hired Killer. Sure, he didn't actually kill anybody on screen, but that was the idea. So with Hired Killer, we also can choose either strength or dexterity, and we will be leaning into dexterity very heavily on this build, so it's a good choice. We do get stealth and underworld lore, which again, Shrek 2, this fits nicely. As far as terrain stalker goes, well, he was hunting through the underbrush well, so we will stick with that. Our class, well, we already talked about this, but we are going with the swashbuckler. I can't think of something that would work better, but I did mention before in this video that you could go rogue or fighter. There, of course, are other options. This is just the fit that I'm looking for. All right, so we have our swashbuckler. Let's go ahead and jump into our ability scores here. We're talking about a very dexterity-heavy creature, so Puss in Boots, very agile, kind of everywhere. Athletics isn't a bad thing, but I think dexterity is the right fit. For being an awakened animal, he's got minus intelligence, which I would say is fitting. Let's stick with dexterity, and let's boost our charisma. The wisdom boost actually isn't ideal, but it's part of what comes along with awakened animal. You could go with standard ability selection and just stick with dexterity and charisma, and I think that would be great too. but we're going to go ahead and do it this way rather than play with any more rules than we already are. And we'll go ahead and up his con, and why not give him a little strength boost. All right. Let's jump into our skills here. We look at our skill training, and some of this we don't need to do yet because we're going to select our class, and that'll give us a little boost all on its own. But I do think it's fair to say that he leans into intimidation a little bit. He already, we've got acrobatics already. So I think athletics both are true to his character. And since he's got stealth, let's go ahead and pick up thievery, another skill of his. We're going to jump into the heritage here. And when we look, this is all about the type of animal you are when you're an awakened animal. He doesn't fly, so that's right out. And he doesn't like the water. So running or climbing, I just feel like climbing fits him better. He gets up and down all the time, scaling whatever fits him at the time. So climbing animal makes sense. All right, and finally, for the ancestry feat, and yes, this may have played a large part in my choice of going awakened animal. A lot of these are fun, they're great, but we're talking Puss in Boots. And it's got to be You're So Cute. That's right, if you ever wanted to make those eyes real big while you hold that hat, this is how you do it. When performing for humanoids, you get a +1 circumstance bonus to make an impression with performance. And we will keep that in mind. All right, once we choose that, we're going to go ahead and take our proficiency in performance. And finally, we are going to look at our class feats. I think there are some really interesting choices here. Flying Blade will allow you to throw weapons, which he does in fact do. Your Next allows you to intimidate when you reduce somebody to 0. Again, fantastic. But when you look at the movies that he's in, being that he is in fact a cat, and this is related to catfall, and he's often falling from great heights, I think that plummeting roll is amazing for him. He gets to roll and then keep on going. Especially when we look at movies like Last Wish, this fits really well. All right, and we get to choose our swashbuckler style. Again, really great choices here. For me, it came down to between Braggart and Fencer. Braggart is based around intimidation. You're taunting people, playing with them psychologically. Very good fit there. But in the end, I truly think that he is more the Fencer. Feinting, distractions, all of that really fits his character well in my mind. Either of these I think is a great choice, but we're going to go with Fencer. So there is our level 1 build out. As always, we are going to use free archetype. You don't need to, but I think it makes the builds fun, and we're going to go to level 10. So we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here. Look at level 2. After you could be interesting. Different finishers here. Retreating finisher, but he likes to kind of keep up in people's faces and go at it. Could be enjoy the show. There's a lot of very interesting choices. I'm going to go with tumble behind. So he does get around quickly. He's constantly sliding around on the floor, going between people's legs. This allows you to tumble through and make enemies off guard. And I feel like that's pretty fitting. All right, for the free archetype. This one, for me, was another no-brainer. This isn't the most mechanically powerful, but boy, is it fitting. The celebrity dedication. This isn't so much a Shrek 2 thing. This is far more when we look at his solo movies, especially as you get into Last Wish. While he is certainly an outlaw, he has a certain status to him as well. And the celebrity dedication really kind of gets that across. You gain the upstage reaction, so that if somebody tries to attempt a skill check and they don't get a critical success, you can try to outdo them. I can't think anything that fits him better than that. He loves to outdo others. And our skill feat, and there are some very fun choices in the skill feat department. So I'd say take these in any order when you see me fill these out, as long as you meet the requirements. He does occasionally get himself into a tricky spot, so I'm going to go with Slippery Prey to help him escape from those situations where somebody's got a hold on him. All right, we jump down here. We've got our skill increase. So let's go ahead and acrobatics is always going to be a big part of who he is, so we're going to keep that up the whole time. And when we choose between deception and acrobatics, as we chose acrobatics already, we're going to go ahead and take the deception side. As far as general feats go, he has many lives, so Die Hard's a great fit. Oh, gotta make sure there we go. So Die Hard's a great fit, but he kind of gets around pretty quickly. So I'm going to go with Fleet. It's not the most exciting, but it does mean that he can get around quicker, and right now he doesn't have the greatest speed. So we're going to increase his speed. And when we look at our stylish tricks, these are, again, skill feats, and I'd say take a look through. You'll find some interesting ones, but I like Confabulator. This is a deception-based skill feat, and you really get to, as I say, pile lie on top of lie. So if you have challenges creating diversions or lying to people, you'll find yourself succeeding more and more as they get less bonuses to detect your falsehoods, the more you continue to just lie at them. So we're just going to really build ourselves up as the ideal liar. All right. Got our level 4 class feat. For name alone, I kind of felt like this was a must, and that is Swaggering Initiative. You get your +2 bonus to initiative, and you get to react to draw a weapon. He's all about the swagger. If for no other reason, it's great for that alone, but this is actually a nice bonus. It's just free when you start combat. All right, and in our free archetype, we have 2 choices here. The You're an Embarrassment, which is a reaction. As you can see, an ally within 30 feet fails a will save, and that doesn't feel like quite him. So I'm going to go with Never Tire. So if you're going to gain fatigue, which doesn't come up much, but if you are, and you're observed by at least 3 creatures who aren't enemies, you make sure you keep going. You can't look weak in front of your allies or your admirers. So you'd hate to see that happen. We're going to go with Never Tire. And on the skill feat side, I was tempted to take Dirty Trick here. We'll pick that up a little bit later. Instead, this is leaning into him being cat-like. I'm going to go ahead and go with Quick Jump. That way we don't have to stride in order to jump, and we can use a single action rather than 2. This just helps us with mobility, and jumping around is definitely a big part of his character. All right, we're going to go take a look at our skill increase yet again here. So when we look at our skill increase, we've already got our acrobatics up, and we've got our deception up. The other thing that we've leaned into here is the performance. I'd say stealth and thievery are also fantastic, but he performs so often. More and more he's in his solo movies, so really want to lean into that performance side. When we're looking at our boosts, we've got a few things that we're really focused on boosting more than others. Dex and Charisma are the ones that matter, and then we'll throw a little more in Constitution and Strength. He can take a beating, and he dishes out some decent beatings himself, so we'll keep those going. When we look at our Ancestry feat, we've got some interesting options. Fierce Grasp could be interesting, but I don't think we're going to be holding on to enemies very often, and we could use Tooth and Claw to get ourselves another animal weapon attack because we got one for free already, but I don't think we need more. Instead, let's keep going down the path of getting ourselves a little more movement and take Wild Stride. So we can stride twice for 2 actions, gaining a bonus to that speed. Really helps us cross the field. All right, we're getting there. We're over halfway. Level 6. Let's go ahead and pick up something useful universally, and that is Reactive Strike. This is both just useful, but he's also quick to act, so it makes sense that he could as a reaction, take a strike. And free archetype, looking at level 6 here, again, we have 2 options. We've got feeling your oats here, but rather, and this is even around deception, but I'm interested in mesmerizing gaze. And this kind of leans into the effect he has on others when he's looking as cute as possible. So when he uses 2 actions and he gazes at one creature and they become fascinated with him, I just think that fits his cuteness and his taking people off guard and kind of getting them to fall under his spell a little bit very seriously. All right, this time we need to pick up Dirty Trick. If you haven't seen this, this is relatively new. This was added in with Player Core 2, and yeah, you get to tie somebody's shoes together or pull the belt out from their pant loops so the pants fall down around their ankles, things like that. Just silly things, but it does have an actual mechanical effect, and it is quite useful, and it leans into that thievery skill. So we'll pick that up. At level 7, we've got our skill increase here. Again, boosting up our acrobatics. Keep that up as high as we can. And we're going to go deception. Now, the other reason we want to boost these 2 up is both these deception and acrobatics give us ways to gain panache mechanically, even without GM fiat. So we want to try to be able to get panache as much as possible. Tumbling is a great way to do that. We have feinting and creating diversions to do that as well. So we want to keep those up. General feat, I talked about how he's got all the lives, 9 lives being a cat. Let's go with the Die Hard. Should be very hard to kill our protagonist. And because we boosted our acrobatics all the way up to master, we can take Kip up. And this is just good. It's a free action. And you stand up. If you're prone, you stand up. You trigger no reactions, you just stand up. Always useful, hard to keep him down, fitting for him as a character. Outside of specific story beats, he doesn't stay on the ground. All right, let's jump into level 8 here. And this is another one that just really felt right for him. Vivacious Bravado. This is all about your ego, so couldn't be more fitting for Puss in Boots. You get a temporary reprieve from pain, and you gain temporary hit points equal to your level plus charisma modifier. The actual mechanical benefits may be less important than the way it plays in with him as a character, but it is still very valuable. Helps keep you in the battle. Look at our free archetype. All right, we know the 2 from before, but let's look at Statement Strut here. He's always strutting his stuff. You're all about strutting your stuff. This is the way you perform, the way you simply live life, and you're going to enrapture your enemies with your performance. Absolutely fitting for our very dashing cat. Finally, our skill feat, and I think it's time to lean into deception maybe a little bit more here. Haven't done a lot of that. So when we look at the different possible options, well, actually, distracting performance, we're really kind of leaning into a lot of that performance going on right now. So why don't we take distracting performance, you create a diversion, except you roll performance instead of deception. It just gives us another option in case we feel like playing that up. But he is quite the performer, and it is often distracting for his enemies and allies alike. And with our skill increase here, that means I could lean into performance again because we picked something up for that. But I want to even out some more of his options since we did take a thievery-based, dirty tricks up there, thievery-based skill feat. Let's go ahead and take that. And we look at our ancestry feat. Not a ton of options. Notice we didn't gain anything else at level 9. So I think there's a lot of options here. I'm going to go with Natural Ambassador. This allows us to talk with animals. While he doesn't do a whole lot of talking with just general animals that can't speak to the audience, I still think it's fitting for him, at least fitting enough that we can take it, and it's a more interesting option than some of the others. And we are here at level 10. So leaning into those same boosts we've been leaning into. Dex, Charisma, Strength, and Constitution, all in a pretty good place at this point. As far as our class feat goes, we jump down here, oh, too far, to level 10, and he's up fighting it out with the best of them, allowing him to use his opportune riposte on top of other reactions is a big boost for him. So this allows him to have multiple reactions as long as one of them is his opportune riposte. A big part of the reason I wanted this class, now we have big debut, which is great, but a big part of the reason I wanted this was command attention for his free archetype. And you get to command the attention of all around you in style. He's all about getting all eyes on him, being that center of attention, and this is the best way to do that. It gives you a really fun option for one action in the middle of combat. All right, skill feat, and another reason we wanted to boost up our, there we go, our thievery is because we had acrobatics at expert. Getting thievery at expert means we can take tumbling, theft, and while we tumble through, we can actually steal something from our enemies. And since we're going to be tumbling through an awful lot, why not steal something along the way? That just is so very fitting, as he's picking the pockets of enemies in critical moments all the time. Okay, so we finished the general build. Let's go ahead and level ourselves up to 10 and finish this out. When we look at our offense here, while you can certainly add a claw attack, we definitely have that. What I'm going to add in is our rapier, because this is his primary weapon. So let's go ahead and jump down here. Rapier is a perfect fit. We know he uses that. It's canon in the films, and we go ahead and boost it up to where it belongs. So we are level 10, assuming you get to follow your standard progression. This is what your base will look like. But because we've got a +2 potency rune, let's go ahead and add on some fitting runes. And in this case, I think that, oh, we've gone too far. We have gone too far. I think that wounding to cause somebody to bleed is fitting. These are just personal choice. Feel free to figure out your runes, whatever is going to fit you best. And the other one that I suggest is Grievous. And there we go. Now Grievous, because of the type of weapon we have, gives us, it's a different bonus for every weapon type, so you can read it here. But we get a nice little bonus. The target is off guard at the end of the turn. Until the end of the turn if we crit with the weapon. So give ourselves that little boost. So here's a nice weapon for us. We are going to go ahead and take a look at our defenses. He does not lean into wearing actual armor, so there's no reason that we should either. If you want to, if anything, you can put on your explorer's clothing is probably the closest you want to give yourself there, and that'll allow you to throw on just some basic runes. But he just wears a cape and a hat, so there you go. Don't want to go too deep there. And with that, we don't have any spells to talk about. There's no pets or anything like that. This is our build. I think this might be my favorite of the pop culture builds to date. Just the character and the class line up so beautifully. Having said that, if you think maybe I should have done this as a rogue, or maybe we should have chosen a different subclass, or just different feats as we went along, please put those in the comments. I love to read these things and get your thoughts. And of course, I just like getting comments. It gives me something to look at, and the videos could use them. So jump on in there. Give me your thoughts in there. However, I'm going to go watch some Shrek 2. And with that, adventure on.